Question number 6, the Honourable David Parker.
Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Economic Development. When he said the government does have a milestone and it is to achieve parity with Australia by 2025, will he provide New Zealanders with measurable interim milestones, and if not, why not?
Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, to slightly correct, I can confirm that the government does have a milestone, and that is to catch Australian incomes by 2025. Mr Speaker, I have no ministerial responsibility for the establishment of milestones.
The Honourable David Parker.
Supplementary. Will the Minister at least commit to a milestone that by the date of the next election, the gap between incomes in Australia and New Zealand will at least have closed to where it was when he took office?
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, the voters of New Zealand will make their own assessment as to how well the government's done and measure that progress at the time of the next election. It's not for me, as I said, to set milestones.
Point of order, the Honourable David Parker.
Point of order, Mr Speaker, I asked if he'd commit to a milestone and he said it's up to the electors. I asked him if he'd commit to a milestone.
No, if the member listened to the Minister's question, he said he does not have a responsibility as Minister of Economic Development to set such milestones. The Honourable David Parker.
If the wage gap is not even heading in the right direction, that is narrowing rather growing ever wider by June next year, will he at least admit that his government has no credible plan and its hollow promises without meaningful milestones are junk?
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Well, Mr Speaker, while I have absolutely no responsibility for the future, what I can tell the member is that he is right to point out that we have a plan that involves tax reform, investment in infrastructure such as broadband and ultra-fast broadband, research and development, reform of the labour market, the electricity market reform, skills and education, cutting red tape and regulation, trade agreements, warm up New Zealand, reformed RMA, the International Growth Fund, focus on skills in the economy, focused resource on the front line, strengthening the science system, getting as much leverage as we can out of the Rugby World Cup, a smarter government procurement program, and many, many other things, sir.
The Honourable David Parker.
If the Minister is not responsible for setting milestones, who is?
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, that is a whole of government exercise, and clearly is set out in the budget each year.
Point of order, the Honourable David Parker.
It's very hard for members of the opposition to ask questions of the whole of government. We can only ask questions of ministers. He said he hasn't got responsibility to answer milestones.
Order. The member will resume his seat. The Minister made it very clear it's not his ministerial responsibility, and matters to do with the whole of government normally are matters for the Prime Minister. David Garrett, point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, while my colleagues, I think, are happier with your ruling than I am, how can it be that a Minister for Economic Development can answer in this House that he doesn't have responsibility for economic development goals?
Order. The member should not be. The member knows that's not a valid point of order, and should not raise it in that manner. It's absolutely a minister's right to determine whose responsibility it is on certain matters, and the minister has made it clear setting any milestones is not the responsibility of the Minister of Economic Development. That's where the matter ends. David Garrett, supplementary question. Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, I just want to check. I know that we've heard some things in on the radio about a change in ministerial warrants. I just want to make sure it hasn't happened in this case.
The member will resume his seat. Now he's trifling with the House, and that won't be tolerated, I warn the honourable member. David Garrett, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Supplementary to the Minister. Can he confirm that the 2025 task force is to report each year on the progress in catching Australia?
I apologise to both the member asking the question and to the Minister, and just ask members to be more reasonable with interjections. I have to be able to hear the question. David Garrett.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Supplementary to the Minister, can he confirm that the 2025 task force is to report each year on progress in catching Australia by 2025, and is he looking forward to that report?
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, yes, and broadly yes.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David Parker.
Does the Minister of Economic Development agree with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance's belated statements that a substantial increase in savings by New Zealanders is needed to help achieve income parity with Australia, and that accordingly another committee needs to be appointed to give National the ideas it obviously needs?
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, I always agree with the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance.
Question number 7, Alan Peachy.
Mr Speaker.